crazy diets. 13-year-old girls on magazine covers who wind up in hospitals because they're so anorexic. Real women don't look like that. And who wants them to? No one wants a woman who looks sick or like she's been from a refugee camp. I'm not the enemy, they are. I hear them. You're not good enough, so no one could ever love you. Come here, he said, pulling her into his arms and looking into her huge blue eyes that were the same color as his own. I love you. You are lovable. They're idiots, and I love everything about you, just the way you are. Now that's my message to you. It's not theirs. It's mine. You are the most lovable woman I've ever known. As he said it, he kissed her, and tears of relief slid down her cheeks, and she sobbed in his arms. He had just told her everything she had waited to hear all her life and had never heard before. Her father said, whenever the subject came up, that if she'd lose some weight, she'd find a boyfriend. She knew that wasn't necessarily the case, since plenty of girls who had perfect figures and were half her size couldn't find a boyfriend, and other girls who were overweight were happily married, engaged, or had significant others. Romance, she knew, wasn't directly tied to your weight. There were a lot of other factors. The judge arrived half an hour later with the file he had collected from his office on the way, signed several papers. Had Sam signed them? The matron witnesses them. Josh cried. Norm cried. She cried. The judge grinned. And Timmy waved his teddy bear at the judge with a broad grin as they wheeled into the elevator. So long, he shouted, and when the doors closed, the judge was laughing and crying too. Something about his hands suggested brutality. He had interesting hands and an incredible smile. In a powerful, almost frightening way, he was handsome. Kezia found herself watching him, prodding, hungry for details. He held her long and grasped of his eyes and let his glance move away. It had been a strange sensation, like being backed against a wall with a hand at your throat. Another stroking your hair. You wanted to cringe in fear and melt with pleasure. And then it dawned on her. This was whom she was afraid to meet. This was Lucas Johns. The weather in Paris was unusually warm as Peter Haskell's plane landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport. The plane taxied neatly to the gate, and a few minutes later, briefcase in hand, Peter was striding through the airport. He was almost smiling as he got on the customs line, despite the heat of the day and the number of people crowding ahead of him in line. Peter Haskell loved Paris. Chapter 1. The weather in Paris was unusually warm as Peter Haskell's plane landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport. The plane taxied neatly to the gate, and a few minutes later, briefcase in hand, Peter was striding through the airport. He was almost smiling as he got on the customs line, despite the heat of the day and the number of people crowding ahead of him in line. Peter Haskell loved Paris. He generally traveled to Europe. Hotel, where their relationship had finally been consummated. The Hotel du Cap was one of the most beautiful, exclusive, and illustrious hotels in Europe, with prices to match. The main building had marble halls, high ceilings, and magnificent rooms and suites, most of them looking out at the sea shimmering like glass. There was an impressive outdoor staircase leading down to the even more exclusive Eden Rock, with gardens on either side of the wide path and closer to the water. It was the vacation spot for aristocrats, royalty, the immensely rich, and in recent years jet-setters, Russian tycoons, and movie stars, many of whom preferred to stay at the less formal lower building, with smaller but still elegantly appointed suites, and even better views of the sea from their balconies. There,